Welcome to Health Club with Julia. I'm your host, health coach, and registered dietitian, Julia Campagna. I'm on a mission to bridge the gap between looking your best and living your life to the fullest. After years of over dieting, struggling with disordered eating, and destroying my social life, I finally found how to reach my dream physique without sacrificing the things I love. Now I'm sharing all my strategies and education with you. We'll be talking all things health, including hormones, metabolism, and lifestyle to help you cut out the confusion and start living. So get cozy and join the club. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. As always, so happy you are here. We are getting back into the flow of why we are all here, the point of this podcast, which is health. So, we're going to be talking today about, again, hormones, my favorite topic to talk about, hormone health, and taking it a little bit of a step further and talking about tracking and getting in tune with your body. I think we don't realize how empowering it feels to be so in tune with your body and knowing what's happening at every stage that you're going through. Like, I can tell you from experience, I feel so empowered in my body by being so in tune with myself. Like, I know when something is off immediately, when something is off. I know what phase I'm in at every point in time of my life with my cycle. I know all the symptoms that I generally experience, so that I can see, okay, this is not normal for me or this is normal for me. I know, I know when I'm feeling bad and when something is off and when I need to look into things a little bit deeper, and I know when I'm chilling and I'm doing good. So it is like the best feeling ever. And especially with hormones and learning about my hormone health and again being more in tune with my body in terms of hormones, this has made me feel like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess more, just like way more of a woman, if that makes sense. Like, I really understand my female body now, and that has, again, it's brought out this really empowering feeling and just made me feel more of a woman, more of understanding my body as a female. And I think tracking has been a really, really, really big part of that for me. And honestly, everything has changed for me once I started to track my cycle. It was not until I started doing this that I really did feel connected to my body and in tune with my body and had this sense of like, I am connected to my feminine side, because I just know more about my body now, and it all started with tracking my cycle. So that's what I really want to talk about today is tracking your cycle and how to get more in tune with your body. That being a really good starting place for you. I mean, there's different ways that you can be in tune with your body spiritually, emotionally, hormonally. There's a lot of different ways. I'm talking more today about the hormonal side of it, which I think also helps you be in tune with other areas like spiritually, emotionally, and all the other things as well. So that's kind of where we're heading with this podcast episode. And I also, again, touching on tracking. So even my shoe just squeaked. I feel like that sounded like a fart. You know when a shoe squeaks and you're like, did you fart? No, that was... I need to reposition. My shoes are squeaking up a storm. Anyway, I want to get deeper into, again, the tracking stuff. So, first things first, what I want to say is by tracking your cycle, you're getting to know your body better. And in turn, knowing how to operate better according to that. Once you know your body better, you're able to then operate and take care of your body a lot better because you know what's going on. Because you've learned how to treat your body, you've learned different signs and symptoms that your body will give you, and so being in tune with your body allows you to operate and function at a higher level because of that. So again, I'm just preaching tracking right now, your cycle, but I think everybody should do it, even if you're on birth control. It's a lot simpler because if you're taking a pill, you know exactly where you're at in your cycle, and you do have, I guess, some symptoms. Symptoms with being on hormonal birth control, I always call them ghost symptoms, because they're not, due to the fluctuations in your hormones, because obviously you don't have that when you're taking hormonal birth control, but you still get symptoms, but it's a lot simpler. There's not really as much to track when you're on hormonal birth control, but still just getting in the flow of being aware of where you're at is really helpful. I know when I was on hormonal birth control and I was taking the pill, I would just take it. Like, I had no idea where I was, what was going on, what day I was in my pill pack. Like, I was just taking them. Like, I didn't think anything of it. But if you can get in the habit of, like, looking at where you're at and, like, feeling how your body feels and, like, just really starting to get more into your body on it, it's going to make it even better when you get off of it. I also feel like this kind of ties into cycle syncing, and I want to simplify cycle syncing a bit in this episode as well, just because I think it goes hand in hand. I think you need to understand your body and be in tune with your body and track your cycle to be able to cycle sync. First of all, you can't cycle sync if you have no idea what's going on in your body and you don't know what phase you're in and all of that. So, like, you need to track and understand your body before you can even cycle sync. But I think that a lot of us women, we don't know a lot about our menstrual cycles and we don't know a lot about our phases, and that's not your fault because we were just not taught this. And I think every woman needs to be taught this at a younger age, more in depth. Like, your sex ed class probably talked to you about how to put on a condom. Great. Glad I know that. Knows nothing else about the female body. But so as women now, I feel like a lot of people are unaware of what goes on in their body and, like, what the hormones are doing and what's actually happening to you. I think it's being more spoken about now. Like, hormones is a topic of conversation now. But even still, a lot of people are unaware of what's going on menstrual cycle wise, hormone health wise. And so they try to cycle sync without knowing what's going on in their body and where they're at, and then it causes stress, and you stress yourself out way too much about being perfect with your cycle syncing and curating everything to your life to fit your phases specifically, and it's kind of unrealistic, it's also stressful, and it's also then counterproductive, and you're just kind of like spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere with you over complicating cycle syncing and also just not knowing what the heck to do with cycle syncing because you don't know what the heck is going on in your body. So we're going to be talking about that stuff as well. But learning more about your cycle, it should be empowering. Like I said, it should not be overwhelming. And again, I feel like a lot of people put stress on themselves to cycle sync and, like, do all the stuff that's now, like, kind of taboo. Not taboo, but, like, just out there in the space now. And it seems to be more overwhelming for people than empowering, and it should be really empowering. Learning about your feminine body is so awesome. When you really dive into what the body does, it is so cool to think about how unique and wild our bodies are as human beings. It's really, really cool. So it's a really, really empowering feeling when you do it correctly and when you actually know what's going on with yourself. So we are going to start talking about tracking and getting in tune with your body by learning what the heck the phases are. If you don't know what the phases are, you can't track and you don't know, like, where you're at in time in your menstrual cycle. So I'm going to start talking really, really, really briefly about your phases. Now, again, I'm emphasizing briefly. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now on this, but I think it's important to understand the very basics of your phases before we're talking further about different things. So let's go over the basics. Day 1 of your period starts your menstrual phase. When you first bleed, that is day 1 of your entire cycle. So there's different ways to think about this as well. Your menstrual cycle as a whole is 4 phases long. But people use the term cycle to talk about just their bleeding phase as well. So when I say the word cycle, I'm talking about your entire cycle, when you're bleeding and also when you're not bleeding. I'll use the term bleeding phase, obviously, to talk about your menstrual phase, or menstruating, but a lot of people use the term my cycle. Oh, my cycle was 8 days long or 5 days long. No, your cycle is longer, should be between 28 and 35 days long. So I just want to clear that up. But so when you start bleeding, that is day 1 of your entire cycle. The entire cycle. This is your menstrual phase. This is when you bleed. So this is, for most people, it's the worst part of your cycle when you have more of those cramps, you have some bowel movement changes, maybe you're feeling a little bit more lethargic and tired and just, like, tuning inward with yourself. You're also bleeding, which Again, like, I will never take my period for granted because I at one point did not have a period. I had amenorrhea, so now I'm like, thank you God for my period. I truly cherish it every single time it comes. I love it. But I do understand the bleeding can be inconvenient at times. So anyway, that's your menstrual phase. It starts on day 1 of your entire cycle. This should be, on average, 3 to 7 days long. Depends. Each person is different, and there are variations of this. But then you go into your follicular phase, and technically, your follicular phase overlaps with your menstrual phase. When we first started talking about our menstrual phase, I feel like a while back, and even when I was first learning about it, people really only split your entire cycle into 2 phases. Your follicular phase and your luteal phase, right? That's how they split it. Now, we know that there's 4 separate phases instead of just the 2. So again, hopefully that clarifies a little bit for you, but your follicular phase kind of overlaps with your menstrual phase. So it starts in your menstrual phase, but then it continues past bleed. So even after you're bleeding, you're still technically in your follicular phase, and this is until about days between 12 and 14 on average. So between like days 1 to 12, 1 to 14, it's technically your follicular phase. Also, the first half of that, when you're bleeding, is your menstrual phase. So you're in your follicular phase. The height of your follicular phase / going into your ovulatory phase, which is phase 3, you are feeling your best. This is typically when people are like, I'm on top of the world, your energy's up, your skin is glowing, looks brighter, more even, more glowy in general. Your estrogen is booming. This is when your estrogen peaks right before ovulation. So like the end of follicular phase into ovulatory phase is when your estrogen is at its highest. So we are feeling really, really good. This is on purpose, right? You feel so good due to these hormone fluctuations on purpose. Your late follicular into your ovulatory phase is your biological blueprint trying to find a mate, because this is when you'll be ovulating soon. And so the whole purpose of a cycle, of a female hormone cycle, is to reproduce. That is what, as human species, females were given this cycle to do solely that. That is the goal of our female reproductive system and menstrual cycle, the whole cycle, is to reproduce. So these signs that you get around your ovulatory phase are on purpose. You're feeling your best, you're most energetic, you're best in your skin, glowy skin, vibrant, wanting to go out more, just like wanting to be social. This is on purpose because you're ovulating soon, so your body is saying, hey, find a mate. This is your body's response to, it's time to reproduce. I'm entering my ovulatory phase, it's time to reproduce. I'm going to make you feel the best that you can. So this is due to your biological blueprint saying, hey, it's time to find a mate and reproduce. So if you really think about it, again, that's wild that our bodies do that on purpose. It knows, okay, we're ovulating soon, we need to find a mate. So what is the best way that we can find a mate? By having our skin look really good, by having us have less inflammation and bloating, by having us have more energy and wanting to go out and be social more. It's crazy when you actually think about like how your body operates on purpose. Like, you don't just feel your best during your ovulatory phase just because. It's for all of these reasons, which is crazy. So anyway, you go from your follicular phase into your ovulatory phase, which this is then like your fertile window. This is when you are most likely to get pregnant. It's really the only time that during your cycle you can get pregnant. Yes, there's some cases where you can get pregnant later, like early luteal phase or earlier in your follicular phase, but your fertile window is during your ovulatory phase. This is when you are at your peak fertility, you're the most fertile, you're ready to have a baby. So once that passes, if you do not have intercourse and reproduce and, sperm meets egg, then we enter our luteal phase. So this is the last phase of the cycle. this is where we have a big shift in hormones. So your estrogen lowers, your progesterone then rises. Progesterone helps to build up that uterine lining to then get shed. So we have these changes in our hormones, which is why we are starting to feel a bit of a drop in energy, feel worse in our skin, all of that stuff. So this is where we enter luteal phase. This is where, again, you're gonna have more dull skin, not as glowy skin. You might have some acne. You have mood shifts, more inflammation, some PMS that you might experience. This is when all of this starts to happen. I personally like to break my luteal phase down into 2 halves as well, because it is the longest of the phases. So this can last from, your ovulatory phase is only like 3 days long. So that can be from days like 12 to day 15, or any variation of that. So roughly your luteal phase will start around day 16, give or take, and go until you bleed. So like 28 to 35, however long your cycles usually are. So this is generally the longest, and I break it up into first half, second half. First half is when you don't have as many of those like PMS symptoms, and like you're still doing okay, you're feeling some sort of that energy drop. But then the second half is when all of that kind of kicks up again. Again, this is where progesterone is more elevated, and you have more of those symptoms that you experience. So I personally, because I know a lot about the menstrual cycle, I know like when my early and late luteal phase is, but for you just starting out, you can just say all of it together as my luteal phase. And then you bleed and the cycle starts all over again every single month. So that's a very, again, quick, brief overview of your phases. Think of your cycle as seasons. This is how I like to correlate it to help people understand. Your cycle is seasons. Your menstrual phase, when you are bleeding, is winter. Your follicular phase is like spring. Your ovulatory phase is like summer. And then your luteal phase is similar to fall. So think of it like seasons, right? Menstrual phase, you're feeling probably your worst, you're bleeding, you want to turn inward, you don't want to do anything. You want to lay in bed and just stay there. That's like winter, right? We don't want to go outside. It's really cold out. We want to turn inward and be with ourselves. Follicular is when you're starting to see, yes, my energy is rising. I'm coming off of my bleed. I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm waking up. I'm coming out of this hibernation state. Same thing with spring. Flowers start to bloom. You're getting out of hibernation. It starts to get a little bit warmer. It's not warm yet, but it's getting there. You're feeling this burst of energy, the sun is coming out more. Enter ovulation. Ovulation is your peak energy, peak feeling the best that you will feel most of the time. Some people do get symptoms and some pain and cramping, and sometimes even bleed with ovulation. That's normal. For some people that does happen, so you might not feel your absolute best. But in general, ovulation is when you feel peak. Like you're chilling, you're good. Obviously this is summer. Sun's out, it's nice and warm, you're more wanting to go and like grab a drink with friends and be social and go to the beach and like, right, you're feeling on top of the world. Then luteal is when all of that starts to come down. That's fall, it's getting colder again, and you're starting to turn a little bit more inward again. So I like to correlate them with seasons to help you understand more. I am going to just take a minute here and interrupt this episode really, really quickly just to make an announcement for you guys. If you guys enjoyed so far me talking about the different phases and you're learning a little bit more about your menstrual cycle, I am running a masterclass in June of 2025, June 26th, 2025, and it is going to go over all of the menstrual and hormone details that you could possibly need to master your hormone health and get in tune with your body. I am talking really more in depth about each phase and the specifics that happen in each phase in terms of hormone changes, plus also what your body's going through and signs and symptoms that you may experience. I am talking about how to track your cycle in depth with given tools that you can use to help yourself out. I am talking about, again, different symptoms that you'll experience throughout different phases of your cycle and how, like, what that means and how you can go about helping those symptoms or just knowing what that means for your body. I'm also talking about how you can continue to work on your fitness goals and your health goals no matter what's going on in your cycle. So this masterclass is truly for the girls. It is all about cycle health and Hormones 101. This is cycle mastery, hormone mastery. If you are looking to get really in tune with your body, master your hormones and your menstrual cycle, and understand more about your feminine body and how that correlates to fitness and other health markers for you, this masterclass is for you. I am in the middle of building this out right now, so the course is not even open yet for enrollment or for signing up for. I will keep you guys posted on when it is available. You can follow me on Instagram for more information, more up-to-date information on when this masterclass is available to sign up. I will also make an announcement as we get closer on this podcast to when this is up and running and the sign up is open for the public. So I just wanted to bring awareness to you really quickly. This episode really kind of talks about it, so thought it'd be a great time to interrupt this and just let you know that this is upcoming. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or message me on Instagram. You can say the word masterclass and I will know what you were talking about. So any questions, let me know, but I will keep you updated about when this is available for you. Again, it is going to happen June 26th of 2025. More information to come. One big key that I want to talk about with tracking your cycle and being in tune with your body is knowing what's normal for you. This is a really big part of feeling empowered with your body and getting in tune with your body, is that you'll know exactly what's going on, what your normal signs and symptoms are, and what may not be normal for you. This is really, really important, and this is one of the things that I love to do with my clients, and one of the reasons why I track my cycle, and I also have all of my clients track their cycle. Because once you know what's normal for you, one, you can catch anything that's abnormal early and take care of it before anything gets worse. Also, it really, really helps the mental state that you're in during your entire menstrual cycle. So, as we know, your follicular and ovulatory phases, you're going to feel your absolute best. Then your luteal and menstrual phase, you're probably going to feel a bit down in the dumps. A lot of women will feel much crappier during these times, which is normal, but they'll blame it on their fitness, and that's a problem. They'll think, oh, I'm not doing enough, I need to train a lot harder, I need to eat less, I need to cut out this food group, all because you might be feeling more inflamed and bloated. However, if you know that that's normal for you, you're able to then say, okay, where am I at in my cycle? Is this normal for where I'm at? Yes. Okay, I know that this is temporary and I can move on. I'm not going to train harder, eat less, cut things out, go to extremes just because of an emotion. I'm having this emotion because it's normal for where I'm at in my cycle. So I think it's really, really important to also track your cycle, just to be, again, in tune with your body, to know what's normal for you and what's not, so that you can understand changes going through your body and understand when something is actually wrong and you need to take things a step further, or when things are just temporary and you're just having these thoughts out of emotion. You know, there's difference between fluctuations in your cycle and where you're at hormonally, and also something being off and not normal for you. So that's another point that I want to make with being in tune with your body and tracking your cycle. Now, again, I'm going to take this a step further with tracking. We kind of talked about our phases, so we know what's going on each phase and what that breakdown of the cycle looks like. Now let's talk about tracking biofeedback markers. Biofeedback markers are basically things that your body will tell you in order to have data points. So I use biofeedback markers as data for myself, my clients, and for all of you. I would suggest doing this as well. Again, this is going to be very, very, very brief on all of these topics. I will be having a masterclass where I'll go over all of these things a lot more in detail and tell you exactly how to do these things and just give more details on them. But I want to just mention them for right now. So tracking biofeedback markers. There's a few things that I like to track, have my clients track, and again would suggest you track to, one, track your cycle, understand where you're at in your cycle, and also get really in tune with your body. So first thing that I want to mention is your cervical mucus. Cervical mucus, this is the substance that forms in your cervix, but it exits through your vagina. So this can be known as discharge. All women have it, and it does change throughout your cycle, which is really cool. This is something that I learned during my whole hormone journey and education process research. When I was learning that this for myself, this was one of the things that I thought was so cool, because There were other things that I kind of knew before really learning more about my cycle, but this I had no idea of. I knew it was there, like obviously I've had discharge my whole life, like all females do, but I didn't know what the heck it meant. Like I was like, it's just there, it's just a substance that's there. I don't know. But when I actually learned more about it, it's really, really cool. And again, I'm so in tune with my body now that I see every single change that happens with my cervical mucus, helps me understand where I'm at in my cycle, and it's really, really cool to understand that. So again, I'm gonna go over this very, very, very briefly. Post-period, right? So you had your bleed, now you're post-period. Your cervical mucus is little to none. You will be pretty dry. You're not going to have that extra lubrication down there. You're not going to have a lot of discharge coming out on your underwear. It's going to be little to none. Moving into your mid-follicular phase now, this gets a little bit more sticky, a little bit more cloudy or white in color. You'll notice that it's coming back a bit more. It might be a little bit more lumpy. This is when your fertility is still pretty low. So you're not in your fertile window yet. It's just becoming more abundant. It's there, but it's this lumpy, not super abundant, white, sticky discharge that you have. When you get closer to ovulation, so you're not in ovulation yet, but you're like late follicular phase, entering close to ovulation, your cervical mucus actually smooths out. It gets a bit more smooth in texture and creamier, so less lumpy. It gets a bit more cloudy, and it's a little bit more abundant. So again, starts as little to none, gets a little bit lumpy, a little bit there. It's not a lot, but it's sticky and it's there, and you can see it. It's just not that much. Then you get closer to ovulation. It's smoother, it's creamier, it's a little bit more abundant. When you get around your ovulation, so your fertile window, it is more clear in color, so it's not as cloudy. You'll notice that it's clearer. People say it has like this egg white texture, which makes sense it makes sense to me now because I see that and I understand it. If this is the first time you're hearing it, you're probably like, what the hell are you talking about? But go and track your cervical mucus throughout your cycle, and I can guarantee you'll be like, oh, egg white texture, that makes sense. So it has like this egg white texture. It's a lot more stretchy. Again, this makes sense to me because I see it now, and it is really clear. It's not cloudy, it's not white anymore. It's like this clear, stretchy, egg white looking texture. This is when it's most abundant. If you ever feel like you peed, but you know you didn't pee, but it's wet down there, odds are it's the discharge. And yeah, that's your ovulatory phase. That's when you know that you're in peak fertility. You're most fertile now. And so during this stage, you'll find that it is most abundant. You're going to notice it a lot more. And this signifies that you're at your ovulation window. You're at peak fertility, and this is either when you need to be extra, extra careful, or if you're trying to conceive, this is the best point for you. If you think about it, again, going back to how I was saying that the sole purpose of our menstrual cycle is to reproduce, like that as a human species is what we were meant to do. If we talk about it in that way, again, this is like a natural lubrication for you. This is why our bodies, again, do this on purpose, because it is natural lubrication. It is getting ready to conceive and reproduce, as that's the point of the human species, and that's the point of our menstrual cycle. So again, it's really cool to think about this is done on purpose for a sole reason, which makes sense when you really think about it. And again, the more that you're aware of this, the more that you're going to be like, oh, I understand this now. So that's around ovulation. And then post-ovulation, now you're out of your fertile window. You're getting closer then to your period again. You're entering your luteal phase. It's then less abundant and starts to dries up as you get closer to your period, and you notice it less again.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. If you love the episode, share the podcast and tag me, and subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM. Thanks for being a part of the club. See you next time.